Good afternoon, friends, and thank you very much for being here this afternoon. As is usual, I will begin with a few announcements, but before that, I'd like to introduce four of my colleagues who are here today with you. On my right is Additional Secretary, Consular Passports and Visas, Mr. Ghanshyam. You are familiar with him when in his earlier incarnation as Joint Secretary Gulf, he had discussed issues relating to migrant workers in the Gulf previously. On his right is Dr. Neena Malhotra, who's Joint Secretary, who deals with visa issues in the Ministry of External Affairs. On my left here is Ms. Suchitra Durai, who handles consular issues in the Ministry of External Affairs. And finally, on her left is Mr. Muktesh Pardesi, who's been previously with you. He's our Chief Passport Officer, who deals with all passport and Joint Secretary passports. So my idea was, since many of you asked passport and consular related issues, I had requested Mr. Ghanshyam to come and respond to every issue on this matter, so that for a year, hopefully after this, we will not have matters relating to passports, because every time I talk about human resources, there are passport issues. When we talk about cooperation, there are consular issues. Every day I get phone calls about dead bodies issues, somebody Indian dying outside, etc. So the point was that we bring to you, if Muhammad doesn't come to the mountain comes to Muhammad. So all of you, we brought all my colleagues here who will respond to you. But this is the main course. Before we go to the main course, as you understand, we always have starters. So I will start with the starters and then make a couple of announcements and then move on to other things. And those announcements are, the first announcement is regarding the visit of the President of Liberia, Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who is currently on a state visit to India. Tomorrow is her main day of engagements, and tomorrow she will be meeting, as usual, there will be a ceremonial reception at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in the morning. Subsequently, she will have delegation level talks with the Prime Minister. There will be a series of dignitaries calling upon her, that is the External Affairs Minister, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, and the Chairperson of the UPA. In addition, President will host a banquet for her tomorrow evening. Day after tomorrow, she will be bestowed with the Indira Gandhi Prize. Those of you who are aware of her background, she is the first African woman head of state. This is also the first visit by a Liberian head of government or head of state to India. We have had a few high-level meetings during the last few years, and the first of these was in 2009 when the Minister of State for External Affairs, Mr. Shashi Tharoor, visited Liberia in 2009. Subsequently, in 2010, we had the Minister of Overseas Indian Affairs, Mr. Vayala Ravi, visiting Liberia. From the Liberian side, we've had two important visits. Their foreign minister had visited India in 2011 February, and earlier this year for the CII-Africa conclave, we had the Vice President of Liberia visiting. So there has been in recent times a regular exchange of visits between Liberia and India. Those of you who are following peacekeeping affairs are perhaps aware that in a sort of a seminal effort in 2007, we had sent a fully formed all-women peacekeeping police unit to Liberia. This was a trailblazer in terms of UN peacekeeping and has been welcomed by all concerned. Currently, we have two fully formed police units. One is the all-women police unit, which is of 104 women police officials, along with 21 male supporting staff. In addition, we also have another fully formed all-male police peacekeeping unit in Liberia. Both these are part of what's called the United Nations mission in Liberia, UNMIL, which has and have been, the second Indian unit is outside Monrovia. The first one is located in Monrovia. As regards bilateral trade between Liberia and India. I understand that it has touched last year approximately $150 million, with the balance of payment being in favor of balance of trade being in favor of India. Our main exports are pharmaceutical products and engineering products. As part of our development assistance to Liberia, we provide approximately 40 ITEC slots and 9 ICCR research scholarships. Under the India-Africa Summit process, we are working with Liberia to set up a IT training center and also a vocational training center for women solar engineers. Finally, Indian companies are eyeing investment opportunities in Liberia's mining sector. And during the visit of the President, we hope to have several agreements signed, also including on oil and natural gas, apart from institutional agreements between various organizations on the Liberian and the Indian side. And I think that's about what I have for Liberia. I have another small announcement to make, and that is that the External Affairs Minister, Mr. Salman Khurshid, will be traveling to Bishkek on the 12th of this month to attend the SCO Summit meeting. The SCO Summit meeting is to be held on the 13th in Bishkek. Those of you who are following our participation in the SCO process are aware that it has usually been the External Affairs Minister who has been representing India at the SCO summits. While he is in Bishkek, it is expected that he will take the opportunity to have informal discussions with other leaders who will be present there during the summit. From Bishkek, he will then move on to Uzbekistan on the 14th and 15th. The External Affairs Minister will be in Uzbekistan, where he will have discussions with his counterpart and also preside over the regional heads of mission. Indian heads of mission in the region are meeting there, and he will interact with heads of mission from approximately 10 countries in that area. Those are the two announcements that I have to make. And what I will do is now request or maybe I'll try and finish off any question that you may have on this before I request my colleagues to talk to you on the more substantive aspects of our interactions on consular, passport, and visa matters. If that is all right, I will begin with indicating my response to any question that you may have on these two things. Yes, Ranjit.
And EAM would be meeting Mr. Shatar Aziz in Bishkek.
Is that a statement?
No, is he meeting there?
Is it a statement or a question?
Has he got any meeting with you in Bishkek?
You are asking this in the form of a question.
Yes.
Thank you. Because the way you started, I thought it was a statement. I think I mentioned to you that while he is in Bishkek on 12th and 13th of this month, he will also take the opportunity to interact informally with several leaders who will be present there depending on their schedules and mutually convenient time slots. These are usually in the form of meetings which are informal conversations. There are no structured and full-fledged meetings that are planned during the SCO summit because this is a short meeting. As regards any specific meeting, we are still working on these things, and should we have a finality to this process, we will certainly let you know. Yes, Manish.
What is the status of India's application to become a full member at the SCO?
Yeah. As you are aware, we have evinced interest in joining the SCO and have indicated our willingness to play a broader and larger role in the SCO. Having said that, it is also correct to state that the SCO members are working on the modalities and on the modalities to see how they would approach the entire issue of expansion. And these modalities include various administrative, financial, and legal issues. They are yet to come to a consensual decision on how to expand the SCO. Once they do come to that decision, they will indicate to us, and we will, until then, patiently continue our role as an observer in the SCO. Yes, Dr. Anshuman.
Akhilesh Suman.
I always make the mistake. This is the second time I've made the same mistake. Please.
Sir, Russia has told that Syria should deposit all the chemical weapons, and America has hinted that if they deposit the chemical weapons, the war can be stopped. So, what is India's reaction on this?
I am tempted to say that this was not part of what I said. I never stop you from asking questions if it is one question at a time. But that, now that you've raised it, I think I will answer it so that you don't have a doubt that I keep you hostage till the end. Look, I think we need to let us step back and see what, I will start with a caveat about something that you said. There is a proposal. These are fast moving developments and evolving situations. So rather than get involved in any specific issue or specific thing that you're saying, because since this morning there have been several developments on that. But let me take you to what is our position on this, and then I'll try and put it into perspective, and perhaps you will have an answer. Now, what is our position on this? A, we did indicate that there should not be a military solution to this conflict. B, we also consistently said that there should be a political settlement to the conflict, preferably through the Geneva II process. Now, this is our political approach to this. Look at the approach in terms of chemical weapons. Now, our approach was that we consistently have advocated elimination and complete destruction of chemical weapons. Further, we've also said, pending their elimination, it is vitally important to ensure that all chemical stockpiles are safe and in secure custody. If you take these four elements together, no military solution, political settlement, complete destruction of chemical weapons, and pending elimination, safe and secure custody of chemical stockpiles. If there are any proposals which are moving in this direction, obviously as India, we would see these as positive developments. So I think I have answered your question in a different manner. I hope that clarifies. Yes, Sandeep?
Stockpiles of all those countries that have not destroyed the chemical weapons, or just Syria?
Sandeep, you are very well aware of that there is a CWC process. And under that CW process, most countries are already members of the OPCW. They have worked out in consultation with the OPCW Secretariat how to proceed in terms of, in case there are, they have acknowledged stockpiles, they have also acknowledged and worked out schedules on how to go about it. Now, in case there are countries outside this, that's where the issue is now meandering. Those countries which are already within that process, there is a schedule and we don't need to focus on that. So I hope I've clarified that. Yes, ma'am. Seema.
Sorry, I don't know whether you've already answered this question, but what is your view on the Russian proposal? And what? You've already answered it?
I think I just answered that. It's available on the record of whose proposal, what. Without getting into that, I've answered what our view is, and if there are any elements which are now leading towards what our view is, certainly we see this as positive. Pardon?
Are we taking any initiative on this? I'm trying to see that there won't be
I only answer one question from one person. Yes, Rajiv. No cancellations. I make the choice. You make the question. Rajiv.
Akbar, Nawaz Sharif had nominated his advisor Sartaj Aziz to attend the SCO summit at Bishkek. But a few days back, Russia requested Pakistan that they should send Nawaz Sharif. Nawaz Sharif himself should attend the summit, which is likely. Now, the question is, when would India consider representing itself at the SCO summit, at the summit level, considering that China is in favor of full membership for both India and Pakistan? And what is the time frame you look at India getting full membership? Thank you.
Rajiv, let me try and answer your question in terms of background history. India has been previously represented at the summit level by our head of government. So this is not new. We have had occasion before. Subsequently, we've decided that it would be best if it's represented at External Affairs Minister. You could have a look at the record, I think in 2009. Today there is an article on the website of the Ministry of External Affairs which lists out this position. As regards your other question about who represents other countries, this is not for me to respond to. Who represents other countries is a choice those countries make. As regards your third question, because very cleverly you have, as usual, put questions within questions. It's like the Matrusha doll. You open one and another comes out. But that said, on your third question, it is for the member states to decide, and we will take it as it comes. We see SCO as an important regional organization in our regional space. There are issues that the SCO considers, for example, Afghanistan and the challenges posed by it. We see SCO as a useful regional forum which can address issues relating to Afghanistan. Let me put another thing. We see SCO as a useful forum in terms of our anti-terrorist stance in a regional context. I presume you are aware of RATS. This is an SCO anti-terrorism mechanism which deals, and we are participating through that. The third thing is energy. As you are aware, we are interested in TAPI pipeline, which is currently from Turkmenistan to Afghanistan, Pakistan and India. These are again in the same common space. So our links with the SCO, we see it as part of our extended neighborhood, and with countries where we have a civilizational and cultural linkage for years. And therefore, we hope that as and when there is a decision taken about expansion of the SCO, we will be ready to fully participate in it. Yes, ma'am. Just a minute.
So this is regarding Sushmita Banerjee's death. The family has been demanding a probe. What is MEA's stance? They're talking about a conspiracy and the family.
Can you please? Yeah.
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
So Sushmita Banerjee's family has been demanding a probe, and they've also talked about a family conspiracy in her killing. What is MEA's stance, and how are you in touch with Afghanistan regarding this, sir?
Let me tell you what the situation is. Immediately upon receiving information about the sad killing of Ms. Sushmita Banerjee, our ambassador had got in touch with the local governor as also the police chief. Subsequently, he also got in touch with her husband. Our understanding is that the husband is in a very distraught situation. He also indicated that he had completed the final rites of Mrs. Sushmita Banerjee. We are now in touch to see if there are any of her belongings which he would like to repatriate to India. We will work with him on that. Ultimately, there is an issue of next of kin. While there is a family, there is also an issue of next of kin. And in this case, legally, it's the husband who is the next of kin. And we are in touch with him on this matter. We have also informed through the West Bengal authorities here about this information to the West Bengal government, who had approached us on this matter. That leaves the issue of a probe. We are in touch with the police chief, who has assured us that they will work diligently to try and reach a solution. I mean, to find out what is behind all this. Our initial understanding is that there were some family issues related to this sad demise, but we will wait for the final outcome of this from the local authorities, because ultimately it's the local police which will be in the best position to provide that information to us. So I hope I've clarified again that also. If that is all, we now move to... Yes, Maria, how could I forget you?
Yes, I was late also. There is any developments about the Italian Marines that you are aware?
Maria, whenever I have developments, I never shirk from responding to you. Unfortunately, I don't have any today. Yes, Mr. Venkatnarayan, I thought we were only having small questions relating to something. All of you are finishing this as the main course.
Akbar, when the Minister for External Affairs goes to this SCO meeting, there has been speculation, sorry, I was a bit late, that he would meet his Pakistani counterpart. Is that happening, number one? And
Only one. Only one.
No, it's related to that.
No related.
You are an excellent spokesman, but why do your ministers feel shy of coming and talking to us in this excellent media center? Mr. Khurshid is very articulate, but if I were to run into the junior ministers in a mall or in a Connaught Place restaurant, I would have a problem recognizing them. Please do something about it. Thank you.
So there is one question and one suggestion. I note the suggestion. As regards the question, I think I've answered that twice before. It's available on the record. Yes, last question, if anyone else has.
Sir, you said there were some family issues related to the Sushmita Banerjee's death. Could you clarify?
I think at this stage, these are preliminary in nature. I think we will wait for a final report on this. So I would beg your patience and indulgence to hold on for the outcome. What we've been told is what I have been able to share with you. The rest I will share with you as and when we have further information. Just a minute. Please wait for the... Please wait for this.
I'm just asking, are we going to the Q&A later again?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
on
no
other
problem.
issues,
on other
about
issues.
all
Okay,
of them.
yeah,
Yes.
I just wanted that clarification.
Yes, of course.
No problem. Thank you.
Of course. You haven't even started them speaking. I presume we will now end with me. I will request, who do we start with? I will ask the Additional Secretary, Mr. Ghansham, to introduce each of our colleagues and give a bit of what are the areas of work. Then they will speak, and then you are welcome to ask any questions from any of them.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Namaskar, Devi aur Sajjano. Bonsoir, Madame and Messieurs. Assalamu alaikum, Khawateen wa Hazarat. My name is A.R. Ghansham. I have been dealing with this desk of CPV division for the last 3 months. So I would like to assure you that the 3 colleagues that have come today with me are the primary authorities on their subjects. I am only additional to them. We issue large number of passports, large number of visas, and it may not be very important under normal circumstances, notwithstanding the fact that the spokesman says it is the main course and it is substantive. But nevertheless, it deals with a large number of Indians and a large number of foreigners, which is running into millions. So it's an important subject after all. We have been issuing passports since 1914, and we continue to issue these passports according to a Passport Act of 1920. Then in 1935, Government of India Act, the passports continued. And after we became independent, the 1935 Act continued to issue the passports. And it was only in 1950 that when the constitution was written of this country, the responsibility of issuing a passport was given to the Ministry of External Affairs. And it continued, and in 1959 we developed our own central passport organization, and over the years it has developed. Early days, it was very few people who wanted passports. The first flush of sudden demand for more number of passports came in the 70s, when there was an oil crisis and there was a construction boom in the Middle East. They suddenly wanted a large number of laborers to build their buildings, their roads and bridges and airports and seaports. We had a large community of Indians, mainly from the south for reasons of history, started going to the Middle East. And this continued, and towards the end of the last millennia, it was the software boom of India. And suddenly you had a large number of young kids who were code writers for multinational companies across the world, mainly in the West, who started going out. That was the second surge, wherein the number of passports that were demanded from the passport organization shot up. Thereafter, we went in for becoming a part of the globalization system. We started opening up our own economy. More and more interactions began to take place between us and the rest of the world. And today, a middle-class family can dream of having a holiday in Singapore, can dream of sending their children to study abroad, and can dream of importing things from abroad which are of daily use. And everybody wants a passport now. So in the early 60s, Government of India used to issue about 30,000 passports every year. Today we issue more than 40,000 passports every day. It's an enormous jump, and it's taken its toll on the psyche of the passport issuing authority, and it has compelled and ensured that it has taken technology as a partner. And it is only because of that that we are still able to survive. There are still problems. When you issue 1,000 passports from a passport issuing authority today, 975 of them which get issued and go, nobody talks about them. But the 25 that have a problem, they come to the media, they come to us, they come to me, they come to the officers, they come to our ministers, they come to the television, and these are the passports which have had a problem in issuance for whatever reason. And there are a number of initiatives that we have taken now, and I don't want to steal the thunder from our officers who have many things to tell you. So that is where I stop, and I hope that after this, if you have any questions, if I am required, I will come. Otherwise, it will be the visa officer, the outsourcing and visa officer, Neena Malhotra, to my right, and Suchitra Durai, who deals with all issues relating to extradition and deportation and consular issues, consular access, and the chief passport officer, Muktesh Pardesi, who is constantly on the run from one place to the other in his work, and they are all ready to answer your questions. If I am required, I will give you the additional answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
The new things that we have done, that's the...
Good afternoon. Additional Secretary has given you a historical perspective on the evolution of passport services in India. I will focus on the improvements which have taken place in the delivery of passport services during last 2-3 years. As you are aware, the ministry has successfully implemented what is called Passport Seva project. This was a Union Cabinet mandated project under the National E-Governance Plan. Within a short span of time, we have been able to implement this over 24 months. So by June 2012, this project was fully operational. Now we have more than 12 months, and the experience which we have gained over 12 months to share with you. Under the project, we have created 77 new offices. They are called Passport Seva Kendras. They are the citizen-facing outlets. We have a national call center which operates on 24/7 basis and receives more than 20,000 calls a day in 17 languages. Apart from Hindi and English, we have provision for taking and entertaining calls in all the major vernacular languages of the country. We have top-class amenities at Passport Seva Kendra. I'm sure some of you have visited and found the facilities comparable to international standards. We have a website, and the website is designed as a single-stop solution for all queries, all information, and also status tracking of application. So coupled with National Call Center and the portal, if somebody has access to the two, he did not go to any third person for availing of passport service. We have brought in a number of security measures. The physical presence of applicant is required so that we can obtain his photograph in the presence of citizen. Earlier, there were many cases of photo substitution because the government was not able to see the citizen. So we are collecting his photograph, we are collecting his biometric details to ensure higher level of security in issuance of travel documents. We have also introduced what is called later screen image or the ghost image in passport booklets. So there is a shadow image of your photograph printed in the past so that photo substitution can be dealt with. In 2012, India globally, when I say globally, I mean 37 passport offices in the country and 180 embassies and consulates abroad. Taken together, we issued 73.8 lakh passports and related services. This year, in 8 months, in India alone, we have issued 48.19 lakh passports in 8 months. So if we calculate this over 12 months, then India alone, we are going to touch 72 lakh passports. If we add another 12-13 lakhs issued by the embassies abroad this year, in our estimates, we are going to touch 8.5 million passports issued by the government of India. This would signify 15% growth over the last 1 year. And if this growth continues by next year, by 2014, definitely during the financial year 2014 and 15, India will join the club of those countries who are issuing more than 10 million passports in a year. So that would be in 14-15 if we go by the current projection. Whether services have improved under Passport Seva, the figures will speak for themselves. Now, 68% of normal passports are being dispatched in 7 days. This excludes the police verification time. So the time taken by the passport office in submission of application, printing, dispatch, signing, all those is reduced to 7 days per application. So 60% of normal passports are dispatched with 7 days. 90% are dispatched within 15 days. So if we are able to improve police verification system drastically, the ministry is confident that we can reduce the total time taken in passport delivery to even lower scale. In case of Tatkal passports, 73% are dispatched within 3 days. Though the time for Tatkal is 7 working days, we are actually delivering 73% within 3 days and 96% within 7 days. 4% we are not able to deliver within 7 days because there's some document deficiency. The verification certificate is has not been reconfirmed by the verifying official. Otherwise, we are able to meet the desired service level. In terms of police verification, we think that if police authorities are able to give reports within 21 days, we can certainly meet the target of 1 month period in which we can deliver passports. Unfortunately, only 30% of all police verification reports are received within 20 days nationally. There we have to make constant efforts to improve that. As on now, out of 722 police districts, half of them, nearly half of them, 344, are working on, they have been connected online with the passport offices. In some states, the work is underway. And we are targeting that by end of this year, most of the states would have switched over to the district model. We have seen considerable improvement in police verification in those districts who have switched over to district model, and there is an online connectivity with the passport offices. In last 2-3 months, we have taken some functional enhancements, like there is a newly designed and more user-friendly passport seva portal. We have introduced online appointment system, and there have been satisfactory feedback on online payment system. A few months back, both MEA and the CPB division, we have introduced a mobile app which is being availed by citizens to get more information about passport services and also track the status of application. I think I'll stop here and I'll respond to the questions in due course of time. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Suchitra Durai, Joint Secretary in charge of Consular Matters. As the word suggests, Consular has 2 aspects to it. It deals with the welfare of the Indian community overseas, as well as issues concerning foreigners in India. We have, for a long time, through our consulates, been giving services to the Indian community overseas. It was in the last few years that we laid down more detailed guidelines so as to improve our services. In February 2012, we issued guidelines to all our missions overseas, whereby what we did was that we did a number of improvements, including a 24/7 helpline was established in all our missions abroad. We also started the practice of an open house, which is being held by our heads of missions or posts, with their Indian community, where grievances are heard immediately. Whatever can be resolved are done on the spot, and action is taken subsequently to resolve pending issues. Then we have, of course, appointed welfare officers in all our missions and posts abroad to look after the affairs of the Indian communities. We have the estimated population, of course, of Indian community includes the diaspora, which is probably about 27 million. And then we have about 5 million Indian passport holders, which is our primary responsibility. Our missions abroad render different kinds of assistance, consular assistance, besides, of course, issuing various kinds of certificates, including, of course, one major document, which is the passport. We also render assistance, which is like transportation of mortal remains, which is naturally a very emotive issue and of direct concern to the family which is based in India. As the case may be. Also repatriation of distressed Indians whenever they are stranded. We render prompt assistance to visiting Indians in case of any loss, or they might have lost a document, they might not have any money, so we try. And also in cooperation with the Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs, now we have established what is called the Indian Community Welfare Fund, which helps the missions in rendering the kind of services which have a financial aspect also. Naturally, these services are rendered to those who have no economic means to help themselves. This is done on the basis of a levy that we do on our consular services, which is equivalent of about 100 rupees on every consular service that we render. Then we, of course, take care of other issues, including settlement of labor disputes, where mission officers are sent, including to factories and so on and so forth, and help people. Our focus has been throughout on the vulnerable sections of our population. For example, we have millions of unskilled and low-skilled people working in the Gulf region, housemaids. We have major problems dealing with those. We have established shelters for runaway housemaids in a couple of countries. And also assistance to women who have been abandoned by their husbands, for example. We give assistance in the form of initial legal assistance through the same ICWF, which is given through an NGO to the person concerned. Then thereafter, of course, we have consular dialogues with various countries, which is regular, where we exchange notes, where we see how we can improve the services that we render to our own people in those countries and to that country's community in India. As far as foreigners in India is concerned, this is, of course, the primary responsibility in terms of law and order is with the state government. And, of course, at the center with the Ministry of Home Affairs, which implements the Foreigners Act and so on and so forth. But where we come in is in the case of consular access. Whenever a foreigner is in trouble, in the case of arrests or death of foreigners, we get the reports from the state government directly to the Ministry of Home Affairs, which in turn informs us, and thereafter we inform the foreign mission concerned. And we issue, on the request of the foreign mission, we issue access letters for their officials to visits, for example, to people who are detained, people who are imprisoned in Indian prisons here. Apart from this, of course, the CPV division also does attestations of documents. On a per day basis, we do attestations for about 3,000 attestations per day. And also we do what is called apostille, which is very similar to attestation, but that is operational in about 104 countries, which are all members with this apostille convention. So we have about, altogether we issue about, we do about 4 to 4,500 attestations per day. This is working very well. We have also tightened many of our procedures so that we give, in case the documentation is perfectly in order, we give it within 1 working day, sometimes on the same day itself, the document is returned after attestation. Attestation is rendered free by the Ministry of External Affairs for document. In case of apostille, we charge a very small sum of 50 rupees per document. We have outsourced these services recently in the last 1 year to about 5 different companies which collect the application forms, give it to us, and they, of course, they charge a very small service fee, which we think is acceptable to the people, to the common man. We pitched it at very low, 16 rupees, 22 rupees, and 18 rupees, which I suppose should be acceptable to everybody. In addition, I also look after extradition-related issues. All the requests which go out from India to foreign countries are through the Ministry of External Affairs, and also the incoming requests from outside also comes to the Ministry of External Affairs, and thereafter we send it to the concerned states through the Ministry of Home Affairs. This is, of course, a very complex issue, and it requires a lot of effort and a lot of homework before we're able to get, but we have had a reasonably good success rate. In the last 10 years, we've got some very important fugitives from our law, And similarly, we've also handed over people to other foreign countries who wanted them. I think I mainly covered all the issues, but I'm open to questions after, I think, one more briefing is there.
Good afternoon. My name is Neena Malhotra, and I deal with V part of the CPV division. I look after all visa-related issues, and we examine and review visa policy provisions relating to all types of visas in coordination with Ministry of Home Affairs. Our ministry is the nodal ministry responsible for fixing or revision of visa fees for foreign nationals. Visa fees generally decided on reciprocal basis. And as you may be aware, we have recently revised the visa fee in respect of nationals of UK, Sri Lanka, and Mozambique. With some countries, we have gratis visa regime. These are Mauritius, Bangladesh, Afghanistan, DPRK, Jamaica, Mongolia, South Africa, Uruguay, and Argentina. With Argentina, we have this gratis visa regime only in respect of tourist visa. With Russia and Japan, we have reduced visa fee regimes. Japan and India charge $8 for all types of visas from nationals of each other's countries. With Russia, it's flat $40. Our ministry is currently involved with a massive project of implementing IVFRT program, which is basically online submission and processing of visa applications, and biometrics procedures, which is capturing of facial biometrics and fingerprints. This is being done in coordination with Ministry of Home Affairs and National Informatics Center. Online visa system has already been introduced in 130 missions and posts abroad. Biometrics is being introduced in phases by our missions or posts. We also conduct negotiations on bilateral agreements with foreign countries on exemption of visa requirements for holders of diplomatic and official passports. Currently, we have such visa exemption agreements with 55 countries. The recent addition this year are France and Greece. France is to be implemented, I think, in about a month's time. And no, it is a visa exemption for diplomatic and official passport holders. We are having negotiations with several other countries on which are at various stages. We also conduct negotiations on business visa facilitation agreements and simplification of visa procedures agreements. We have such agreements with Japan, South Korea, Russia, and China. We also signed this relaxed travel agreement with Bangladesh this year in January. MEA, along with Ministry of Home Affairs, is also closely associated with negotiations on migration and mobility matters, which are led by Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs. I also deal with surrogacy-related issues, and we've been closely involved with MHA and Ministry of Health on surrogacies-related matters, and we have contributed towards revision of guidelines on such matters. The draft bill on the matter is being studied by all the 3 ministries, and we are having regular meetings on that. In addition to regular visa stickers, we deal with SARC travel endorsement stickers and OCI and PIO matters, again in association with MHA. I also represent MEA on the Inter-Ministerial Coordination Committee on tourism-related issues, which has been established under the chairmanship of Secretary Tourism. You are all familiar with Tourist Visa on Arrival scheme, which covers 11 countries as of now. And we have recently added 4 additional airports on where this scheme is available. We, as Suchitra mentioned, we periodically hold consular visa dialogues. This year we had inaugural round of visa-related dialogues with UK and Turkmenistan. We also had dialogues with Ukraine and UAE. And last but not the least, I also deal with formulating, implementing, and monitoring policy-related issues pertaining to outsourcing of visa services. We have outsourced visa services in 68 missions abroad. Thank you.
The ball is now in your court. We will start with those who haven't asked before, and then we will give you. Since you hardly asked many times, here's the first question to you.
So there were some problems related to passport office in Calicut. So have you dealt with that problem? What is the action taken on that matter?
We are not aware of any problem in Calicut. If you are referring to Malappuram, yes. So we have a separate office in Calicut and we have another office in Malappuram. The matter is being examined, and we had queries and there was some media reporting also. But we are examining whether there was truth in what has been reported in the media. A team had gone, and preliminary inquiry reveals that the decisions were being taken as per the prescribed norms and guidelines of the ministry. There was not major deviation from any norm. But this is a tentative conclusion that we have drawn. Study is being finalized.
Ashok.
I want to know the names of countries where we have visa on arrival, number one. And number two is the countries where the it is that ECNR is not required.
Currently, 11 countries are covered by this tourist visa on arrival scheme. These are Finland, Japan, Luxembourg, New Zealand, Singapore, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, Laos, Myanmar, and Indonesia. In addition, senior citizens, that is nationals of age more than 65 years from Pakistan, are allowed visa on arrival at Atari Wagah border for 45 days.
Just a minute. Just a minute. Yeah, there was a second question on ECNR. ECNR? Yeah. Yeah, we will get back to you on the ECNR question.
Basically,
yeah.
ECNR is, you should say on 99% of the times ECNR passports, it is not required. Immigration check not required. There are only a few cases where immigration check is required, and that's an ongoing process. As of now, if I'm not mistaken, women who are of below a certain age going to the Middle East, we put a check on them. And there are specific categories like that. And Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs and the Protectorate of Immigrants, he's the authority to give you the correct answer for this, I think.
Yeah. Ashwini, you wanted something, a follow-up?
Yes, sir. Basically, visa is generally on a reciprocal basis. We give it visa on arrival to 11 countries. Not all of them reciprocate where Indians are concerned. So are there any steps whereby we are also trying to see whether Indians can go there?
There are many.
I said by and large we follow reciprocity in matters pertaining to visa, but there are several countries that grant visa on arrival to Indians, but we do not reciprocate in the same ways. Mauritius is one of them. I think Turkey gives visa on arrival to those Indians who already have Schengen or US visa on their passports. So there are some other countries as well. By and large, we follow reciprocity in visa fee matters, but on other matters, we also like to see our national interests. And we have a request from many other countries to cover them under these visa on arrival schemes, and we have also requested some other countries. So the negotiations are on, and I would also like to add that we also have a group tourist visa on arrival scheme, which we call collective landing permit. That covers majority of the countries, in fact almost all the countries other than those which are in the prior reference category. This is applicable to those who are coming in a group of 4 or more, and they have to apply online 72 hours prior to departure, and then they can get a visa on arrival upon arrival here in India at 8 Indian airports. Thank you.
Nas.
You said you have India has reduced visa fee in respect of UK, Sri Lanka, Mozambique. Is it on a reciprocal basis? What is the criteria? What is the basis?
Yes, we have revised the visa fee in respect of UK, Sri Lanka and Mozambique to bring it on par with the visa fee charged by those countries. It's available on the net. There are various categories. There are about, I think, 10-20 categories. It's all available on the net, both on our website as well as the UK website.
सर मेरा सवाल चीफ पासपोर्ट ऑफिसर से है कि आपने बहुत अच्छे डेटाज दिए, मे बी इट्स राइट और मे बी इट्स रॉन्ग, बट द ग्राउंड रियलिटी इज लिटिल डिफरेंट. People are facing so much problem at the passport offices because your passport applications are in the language is a very difficult language. So एक आम आदमी पासपोर्ट बनवाने जाता है तो बहुत दिक्कत आती है. Then he has to go only to touts. और touts क्या करते हैं वो आप बहुत अच्छी तरह परिचित हैं. दूसरा, आपने पुलिस वेरिफिकेशन जब उसमें कर दिया है, जब आप एक आधार कार्ड बना के हमको दे रहे हैं, भारत सरकार का ये एक पार्ट है, तो वाई यू आर नॉट टेकिंग आधार कार्ड एज ए एविडेंस फॉर दैट. तत्काल में आपने एक क्लॉज डाल दिया है कि एसडीएम वेरीफाई करेगा. सर मैं किसी अगर एसडीएम को नहीं जानता हूं तो मेरे को कैसे वेरीफाई करेगा? वो इज़ वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू गेट इवन तत्काल पासपोर्ट. अब उसको लेने के लिए फिर मेरे को किसी के पास जाना पड़ेगा. अब वो क्या करेगा? यू नो बेटर. पुलिस ऑफिसर क्या करेंगे? यू नो बेटर. दिल्ली में आपने पासपोर्ट ऑफिस खोल दिया आईटीओ पे, जहाँ सालों से प्रॉब्लम है, अभी से नहीं प्रॉब्लम है पार्किंग का, और वो भी मीडिया वाली जगह पे खोल दिया. मीडिया वालों को पार्किंग नहीं मिलती, पासपोर्ट वालों को कहाँ से पार्किंग मिलेगी? आप बहुत परेशानी. मतलब मेरा एक सजेशन सिर्फ है कि जो नियम है, आप वाई नॉट वन सिंगल, आप एक वहाँ आदमी की नियुक्ति करें जो इस तरह के लोग आते हैं गरीब या छोटे मोटे जिनको पासपोर्ट भरना नहीं आता है, वो उनको पासपोर्ट भर के दे तो टाउट्स की समस्या सॉल्व हो जाएगी. सेम प्रॉब्लम पहले एमएलओस के पास होती थी जो मोटर ड्राइविंग लाइसेंस देते थे, वो समस्या उन्होंने ख़त्म कर दी. आप भी इस तरह की समस्या ख़त्म करिए और जो ट्रैफिक प्रॉब्लम है वो भी नहीं आए. और तत्काल के जो क्लॉज हैं उसको थोड़ा इतना ईजी कर दीजिए कि आधार कार्ड को मानकर आप क्यों नहीं देते? आधार भी तो भारत सरकार का कार्ड है, सारी वेरिफिकेशन उसमें हो गई, आंखों की टेस्ट, हाथ की टेस्ट, पुलिस वेरिफिकेशन, एवरीथिंग. देन व्हाई यू नीड सेपरेट अगेन द एविडेंस टू प्रूव योर रेजिडेंस? थैंक यू.
जहाँ तक आधार की बात है, आधार आप जानते हैं ये सेल्फ डिक्लेरेटरी डॉक्यूमेंट है, वेरिफिकेशन नहीं होता है उसमें, और सेल्फ डिक्लेरेटरी डॉक्यूमेंट है. आप जो ले जाते हैं वो रजिस्टर कर लेते हैं. और सबसे बड़ा डिस्क्लेमर आधार जो पत्र मिलता है उसके पीछे में होता है कि यह आपकी नागरिकता का प्रमाण पत्र नहीं है. ठीक है. सो पासपोर्ट कार्यालयों को इस बात का ध्यान रखना है कि आधार पत्र की अपनी सीमाएं हैं और उस सीमाओं को हमें जानना है. इसीलिए नागरिकता को अगर साबित करना है तो कई और दस्तावेज चाहिए, और उन दस्तावेजों को आपको पासपोर्ट ऑफिस में प्रदान करना है. उसमें आप देखेंगे हमारे वेबसाइट पे लिस्ट है, 16 तरह के प्रमाण पत्र हैं जो आप दे सकते हैं, उसमें से 3 देना है. और जहाँ तक एसडीएम की बात है, केवल एसडीएम ही वेरिफिकेशन सर्टिफिकेट नहीं दे सकता है. भारत सरकार में अंडर सेक्रेटरी से ऊपर कोई भी है वो दे सकते हैं, एसडीएम दे सकता है, डीएम दे सकते हैं, मेजर और जी कई जगह नहीं, अगर आम ऐसी बात नहीं है कि आम आदमी नहीं पहुंच रहे हैं, नहीं तो 72 लाख पासपोर्ट तो नहीं बनता, उसमें लोग आम लोग हैं. आपकी बात हमने, जहाँ तक टाउट की बात है, हर पासपोर्ट सेवा केंद्र में 2 टर्मिनल लगाए गए हैं, असिस्टेड टर्मिनल, जहाँ पे कोई भी जाके हमारे एम्प्लॉय को कह सकते हैं कि मेरा फॉर्म आप भर दीजिए. तो 77 पासपोर्ट सेवा केंद्रों में हर जगह पे 2 ऐसे टर्मिनल लगाए गए हैं जहाँ पे जानकारी ही नहीं है, आप जा सकते हैं और यू कैन आस्क फॉर सर्विसेज टू बी डिलीवर्ड बाय पीएसके ऑफिसर.
थैंक यू. Gautam.
I have a question on consular service, particularly in this case of Sushmita Banerjee. You know, unfortunately she was killed.
is obviously the first degree relative, which now becomes the husband. So therefore, it's the extended family which is back home, doesn't have the same legal status. But I wouldn't really want to prejudge on this case, because actually it is being handled by another division, not by the CPV division, and I wouldn't really like to comment on this beyond this.
No, I will check that about her passport status, but I think broadly she's answered that question, and that is that purely in legal terms, the husband or the spouse is always the first resort in these matters. And this is not only in this case. For example, you have large number of people dying in the Gulf. Let me give you an example of that. You always have this dispute of the wife and the father-in-law, the mother-in-law, etc. and all. And this is an ongoing issue, but always it is the wife which is seen, or the spouse inevitably always is seen as the first resort in terms of next of kin. So this is not unique in terms of divergence between one part of the family and the other. This is not an uncommon occurrence. Yeah. It is okay, Nilova.
I have a question on the extradition issue. I mean, somebody like, say, an Anup Chetia in Bangladesh, do you have to keep renewing extradition requests annually or something, or once it is made, does that stand? And what is the status, particularly with Chetia at this point of time?
I will not comment on individual cases, but extradition, as a rule, what happens is once you send a request to a foreign state, that request stands. Unless it is, of course, the decision has been taken by the foreign government to reject it, and if so, then it will be formally communicated, but a request, once extended, actually stands.
One pertaining to Mukteshji, and as clarification, if Aadhaar is not the proof of residency or citizenship, so is not the passport, as the High Court had said. So my question is that, you gave us a very numbers about the increasing number of people who are asking passports. What is the number of Indians who have the passport in the country?
The document is valid for 10 years, so we calculated, as on now, we should have some 50 million people who are having valid passports. We do not have exact, precise, but tentatively we can say that more than 50 million people are holding valid passports.
Now wait, second question, second time. No, you have finished yours. No, if there is time. Anyone else first time? Yes, Tripti.
Ma'am, when you talked of focusing on the vulnerable sections of Indian population overseas, you mentioned domestic helps and your ways of reaching out to them. So, in which countries do we have these kind of problems? And what initiatives are you taking to bring them back or intervening in a favorable manner?
These kind of problems are mainly in the Gulf region. Therefore, one of the major initiatives which has been taken by the Ministry of Overseas Indian Affairs is to ensure that no one below the age of 30 years, for example, is given the clearance to go as a housemaid anywhere at all in the world. Now, having said that, there are a number of people who actually go around these guidelines, and they go with visitors visas overseas and thereafter work as housemaids. Now, naturally, our job at the missions is to help any Indian in distress, irrespective of the way they went, to that particular country. So, what we do is in a couple of countries where this is a very major problem. For example, in Saudi Arabia as well as in Kuwait, we have had shelters which have been established. So, if a runaway housemaid comes to the mission and seeks help, firstly we have to verify, of course, whether she is an Indian national. Once that has been established, we also need to, in fact, intervene with the sponsor to ensure that, because in such countries you also need an exit visa to come back, it's not just a question of issuing a travel document. So the mission does all this and then puts up these people in the shelter for a period of which can range anything from a number of days to even a couple of months, and thereafter sends them back to India. So this has been working very well and now since this scheme has been established.
My question is to Nina Malhotra. Just in the last week I received very interesting information from Canada. Now one John Dimitriev and Patricia Bisek, they are going to attend a convention of YPO, that is Young Presidents Organization, and they are asking for a visa from Canada. Now the information which they have been asked by the consulate in Canada is like this. A letter of invitation from the organizer of the conference confirming the places, dates and subject. That's okay. Event clearance from the Ministry of Home Affairs, administrative approval from the Nodal Ministry, political clearance from the MEA, Ministry of External Affairs, and clearance from the state government. Now, whether all these things are required for a person to come to India, and how is he going to get all these clearances in a short time where bureaucracy works, how they work, you see. And the convention is in the month of November, only 2 months.
Before I answer your question, I just want to make some general comments about the Indian visa regime. I think I can say that Indian visa regime is perhaps one of the most liberal and one of the fastest visa regimes in the world, especially when it comes to tourist visas. We do not require an invitation letter. There is no requirement for a travel insurance. There is no requirement for a confirmed hotel booking. There is no requirement for any financial documents to support that. And it's just 1.5 page form compared to the elaborate forms some of you may have filled when you had gone to Western countries. But as regards some other categories like conference visas, business visas, student visas, employment visas, we have certain guidelines. And these are more or less universal. I think many countries ask for much more documents than we ask for. Political clearance requirement for a conference visa is a must. There are also issues of the organizers, who the organizers of that conference is, what are the topics which are being discussed in that conference. So if all that is provided, then there is no issue regarding the conference visa. I must also add that it also depends on the applicant's origin. Sometimes if a person is from a country of origin which is in the prior reference category, then he must apply on his national passport, the original passport, and not the acquired nationality passports. So there are several issues pertaining to certain categories of visas, but I would still say by and large Indian visa is one of the most liberal visa regimes. Thank you.
If I may be allowed to add to that, sir, first and foremost, when a conference is organized in this country, it's the entity which organizes the conference which has to take the necessary approvals. First, the Ministry of Home Affairs has to clear it, and after that, if the Ministry of Home Affairs clears it, the political clearance is given by the Ministry of External Affairs. The participants to a conference like this have nothing to do with this. Let me be very clear on that. After the two clearances are obtained, then the Ministry of External Affairs issues requests to the concerned embassies from where the participants are coming, indicating the names and passport numbers of the individuals, saying that these are people who are authorized to come to India to attend this conference, and visas may be facilitated subject to usual checks. This is the procedure. Individual applicants cannot be asked for political clearance. Thank you.
Ma'am, could you please elaborate a bit on the surrogacy issues, how many requests you get, and what's the current state of legality involved?
As you may be aware that a bill is under consideration or is at the drafting stage, and Ministry of Health is the lead ministry for that. There are certain general guidelines which MHA has issued, which we circulate to all our missions abroad. And to begin with, I think the couple which is commissioning surrogacy, they have to be duly married, and the marriage should have sustained for at least 2 years. Secondly, the applicants have to provide a letter from the embassy of the foreign country in India or the foreign ministry of the country clearly stating that the country recognizes surrogacy, and the child or the children to be born to the commissioning couple through the Indian surrogate mother will be permitted entry into their country as a biological child or children of the couple commissioning surrogacy. The couple has to apply for a medical visa, and it is not correct to apply to come on a tourist visa and commission surrogacy. Then the couple has to furnish an undertaking that they would take care of the child or children born through surrogacy. The treatment should be done only at one of the registered ART clinics recognized by ICMR. The list of such clinics is available on the Ministry of Health website, and we have also circulated to the missions abroad. And the couple should produce a duly notarized agreement between the applicant, a couple, and the prospective Indian surrogate mother. In addition, at the time of grant of exit visa to the child born through surrogacy, the FRROs ensure that the entitlements of the surrogate mothers have been taken care of. Thank you. I wouldn't have an approximate number, but majority of the applications are from the Western world, the United States of America, also some from Israel, Canada, Australia, very few from the Asian region. Thank you.
Since everybody has finished their first round, Pranay, sure. Please.
Hello. My question is to Suchitra Durai. Just a clarification, really. When you're seeking the return of a fugitive, is it a must to have an extradition treaty with that country?
It's not at all necessary, because it helps, of course, if you did have a treaty with that country, because then you can, the request goes, and therefore thereafter it's immediately considered by that country and so on. Even in the absence of an extradition request, you can send in the request, and that country will thereafter might seek a reciprocal assurance from you in case they wanted somebody from India that you would. So there have been cases where we have sent requests and got requests from other countries even in the absence of an extradition treaty. It is definitely a political decision.
Last two questions, and one is Vishal and the other I have already noted.
Since we have the opportunity of a presence, the question relates to Mrs. Neena Malhotra and about the case in New York.
No, this is not about issues relating to that. This is relating to issues of her.
Okay, then if I may be allowed to ask another question.
Sure.
So what is the total number of visas which are issued by Indian missions across the world?
It's about 5 million, sir, every year.
Since everybody else has asked the question, and I understand ASCPV wants to ask a question to all of you, so I give him the last chance to ask that.
You know, when I took over this desk 3 months ago, the question which really haunted me was the police verification. How do I get this thing organized? So one of the first visits that I had occasion to was Bangalore, and there were 9 members of parliament who were inspecting the RPO, and I had gone with them. And I had access to the top brass of that state government, and we asked the same question. You know, everybody is blaming the Ministry of External Affairs for delay in the passport. Now, if you look at our website, how many of these delays are because of police verification? Practically all the delay is because of police verification. There are some states in which police verification doesn't come at all. So we have a serious problem there. So I asked this question to the head of the police, the Home Secretary and the Additional Chief Secretary, in what way can you help us to get out of this mess? The reason they gave us was, the police chief said, "Sir, let us explain to you our situation also. Maybe you have explained yours. Let me explain our problem. The state of Karnataka issues 500,000 passports approximately every year. And we have certain number of constables who do the police verification. And if I divide the number of passports to be issued by the number of constables that I have, it works out to 8 to 10 police verifications per day, per constable. Now, what is the roster of the duty for a constable? He starts with crime investigation, he starts with murder investigations, he looks after traffic violations, he looked after VIP security. Waqt milega, so he will go on address verification. Finally, let's say one hard-working fellow has found the time. He goes to the house. Invariably, it is locked because the today's generation which is seeking passports, both the husband and wife work. वो घर में मिलते ही नहीं. The question that I have is, we are thinking about this problem for the last 3 months. We have got all kinds of ideas, some revolutionary ideas and some simple technology solutions. I want to put this question to you people with the background that the police verification is required for 2 reasons. One is the address proof. We want to make sure that the man who declares that this is my address actually lives in that address and he's not taking us for a ride. The second is, we want to know whether he has any criminal track record, because it's the cops that have to tell us. And today's criminal record, there are some states which have digitized and computerized their criminal record. Now, I run through this digital system for an applicant from that state and he is cleared. That doesn't mean that he is actually cleared. If anybody has seen a movie called Special 26, you will know. The people don't commit crimes in their own home. They always go somewhere else and commit the crime. So this digital database is of no use for me. We need to have a national database, and only then I'll be able to depend on it. So the question that I have is, you please think about it, speak to your people, speak to as many friends as you can, and let us know whether you have any offers to us on how to get rid of this police verification delay. Thank you.
No, don't worry. The answers have to be come by email, not here. I thank you very much for all this. And I'd like to thank my colleagues who spared the time and come out and were willing to listen to all the volleys that you have to serve towards them. I'm grateful to all of them and all of you to have given this opportunity for them to interact with you. Thank you.
And we must also thank the spokesman for giving us the opportunity. Thank you, sir.